Stop. Beloved starseed of Gaia. This transmission is issued directly from the Arcturian Protocol Keepers, and what they have already detected in your field is this. Your wealth chakras have not been closed by accident. They have been held in a suppressed sequence, locked in the wrong order, and that single hidden misalignment has been generating the same cycle of financial instability, quiet loss, and unreachable abundance that you have been living inside, possibly for years. By the end of this transmission, you will understand exactly why your financial flow has been blocked, what hidden pattern has been draining your abundance, and what the Arcturian Protocol Keepers already know about this phase. But here is the first revelation: the money that never stays, the effort that never compounds, the stability that arrives and then collapses. None of that is random. It is the predictable output of wealth chakras that were never unlocked in the correct sequence. The field cannot hold abundance because it was never structured to receive it in the right order. The loss was not a failure of effort, it was a failure of sequence. Tonight, that changes. The Arcturian Protocol Keepers have now released what is being called the most precise wealth chakra unlocking sequence ever issued through this channel. This is not a general meditation. It is not a soft visualization. It is a specific, tested unlocking order, verified across multiple soul lineages, that causes the wealth chakras to open simultaneously rather than one by one. But simultaneity is everything. It collapses the long delay that keeps most starseeds waiting between activations, never reaching the full threshold where abundance can actually anchor and remain. This sequence has been held at the protocol level for a reason. It is ceremonial in structure, it is instructional in delivery, and it is being made available now because the cycle has reached the exact point where this release is permitted. You did not find this message by accident. The algorithm only delivered it. Your financial field brought you here because the pattern has already begun to surface, and the Arcturian Protocol Keepers have already mapped what is active in your material field at this moment. Like this transmission, if you know your struggle with money is deeper than bad luck, subscribe to Arcturian Gold Codex if you are ready to understand the pattern instead of blaming yourself. Comment 888 if you are ready to reopen the flow of abundance and receive this sequence tonight. You are guided here because the pattern is already active. What you just heard is not a beginning. It is an arrival point. You are not brought to this transmission to be comforted about something you already accepted. You were brought here because the Arcturian Protocol Keepers have already identified what is running beneath your material life. And what they found is not what you were told to believe about yourself. The pattern they detected is not laziness. It is not weakness. It is not poor judgment or bad timing or some essential flaw in how you move through the world. What they found is a sequence disruption so precise, so deeply embedded in your energetic architecture that the ordinary explanations you have been given for your financial life were never going to reach it. Think about what that means. Every story you were handed about why your finances look the way they do, the economy, the timing, your choices, your character, was a surface explanation being applied to a depth-level distortion. It was like treating a structural crack in a foundation by repainting the walls. The diagnosis was never reaching the actual problem, and so the problem continued, season after season, year after year, wearing the face of bad luck or personal failure, while the real mechanism operated silently beneath everything you could see and touch and count. Here is what the disruption looks like from inside it. Money comes, and then it does not stay. You earn, you save, you plan, and something breaks or something is owed or something collapses at exactly the moment you thought you had finally built enough ground beneath you. The car, the roof, the bill you forgot, the opportunity that cost more than it returned. The timing is almost too exact to be called random. You can feel the pattern even when you cannot name it. You have started to suspect that there is something operating in your financial life that is not governed by what you do, because you have changed what you do, and the result stays the same. That suspicion is not paranoia. It is diagnostic clarity trying to emerge. The Arcturian Protocol Keepers call this the retention threshold failure, and it is one of the most identifiable signatures in a disrupted abundance field. Imagine a vessel with a hairline fracture running along its base. You fill it. It holds for a moment, long enough to feel the weight of what it contains, long enough for you to believe this time is different. And then slowly, without drama, without announcement, the level drops. You fill it again. You fill it faster. You find more careful ways to pour, but the fracture was never in your method of filling. It was in the vessel itself. The retention threshold failure operates exactly this way. The abundance arrives. It is real. Your effort is real. But the field beneath it has a structural break that was written into its architecture before you ever began pouring. This is the first thing the Arcturian protocol keepers want you to understand. You are not watching wealth pass through your life because you have not worked hard enough. You are watching it pass through because your field was structured through a sequence misalignment that began long before your current decisions to process abundance as something temporary, something to be moved through rather than held. Your system learned to receive and release, not because that was natural to you, but because an older instruction embedded in your energetic field told the material current to do exactly that. Keep it moving, never let it settle. Keep the person surviving, but never arriving. The instruction has a texture to it. You can feel it in the specific quality of the financial exhaustion you carry. It is not the exhaustion of someone who has never tried. It is the exhaustion of someone who has tried consistently, who has restructured and reattempted and rebuilt, and who watches the same result emerge regardless. That specific flavor of depletion, effort without compound return, discipline without accumulation, is the fingerprint of a field that was never permitted to hold what was placed inside it. That instruction did not originate with you. That is the part the Arcturian protocol keepers are most precise about. The retention failure most starseeds carry in their material field is not self-generated. It is inherited. It runs along lineage lines. It was transmitted through the lived experience of people who came before you. People who genuinely did not have enough. People whose relationship to money was shaped by real scarcity, by systems designed to keep certain bodies and certain bloodlines in a perpetual state of not quite enough. That scarcity became code. It became instruction, and that instruction was passed forward not through deliberate teaching, but through the energetic field of the family line itself. You absorbed it before you had the language to question it, and now it governs your material results in ways that feel like your own limitations. This is important to sit with. The people who passed this code to you were not doing something wrong. They were surviving inside the same distorted field. They were passing forward what had been passed to them, not as cruelty, not as intention, but as field transmission. The code was in their posture around money. It was in the conversations that stopped when you entered the room. It was in the way financial stress was carried silently, as a permanent weather system that everyone lived inside and no one named. The field absorbed all of it, and it filed it as instruction. Some of you grew up watching a parent work relentlessly and still never have enough. Some of you learned that money was the source of conflict in your household, that it was always short, always the reason something could not happen. Some of you were told, without being told, that wealth was for other people. That comfort made people dangerous, soft, or selfish. That needing less was more honorable than having more. These were not simply cultural attitudes. They were field instructions. And your energetic system received them as operating code, not as opinions you could choose to update. Some of you carry something even more specific. You remember the exact moment you understood that your family did not have what other families had. Not through a conversation, through a look, through what could not be bought for a birthday, through the particular silence that followed a certain kind of question about the future. The field recorded that moment. It recorded the emotional frequency of it, and it began organizing your material reality around the instruction embedded in that frequency. This is the level. This is what is real. This is what is available to people like us. That instruction did not leave when you grew up and began making your own choices. It came with you. It is still running. What you are feeling right now is not ordinary frustration. It is the moment your system stops pretending this pattern is just bad luck. If this transmission put language around a financial struggle you have been carrying in silence, Arcturian Wealth Scan, the Gold Frequency Audit, was created for this exact stage. It is not another promise of abundance. It is a direct audit of the hidden pattern affecting your material field, so you can begin to see whether the drain is rooted in inherited scarcity, guilt around wealth, energetic rejection, or an older financial instruction still shaping your results. The link is in the first pinned comment, but it will not remain there forever. The second layer of this pattern is the one that creates the most confusion because it does not look like a block from the outside. It looks like almost. You get close to stability and then something dismantles it. You generate momentum and then you hit a ceiling you cannot see but can absolutely feel. You begin to accumulate and then within weeks or sometimes days, the accumulation is gone and you are rebuilding from a position that feels almost identical to where you started. The Arcturian protocol, Keepers call this the threshold reversal, and it is one of the most consistent signs that the wealth chakras are not eyeing in the correct sequence. What is happening is not that abundance is being withheld from you. What is happening is that your field has a ceiling coded by the old scarcity instruction, and every time wealth approaches that ceiling, the field redirects it. Not maliciously, mechanically, because that is what the old sequence told it to do. Keep the person below a certain line. That line was drawn long before you arrived, and no amount of effort from within the current sequence can raise it, because the ceiling is not in your habits. It is in your field's foundational architecture. The threshold reversal has a specific emotional signature that many of you will recognize. There is a moment, just as things begin to consolidate, just as the numbers begin to reflect real stability, where something in you shifts, a quiet but unmistakable discomfort, a restlessness, an almost compulsive need to act, to spend, to redirect, to disturb what is beginning to settle. You may have told yourself it was impatience or excitement, or a practical necessity you are simply responding to. But the Arcturian protocol, Keepers are precise about what this is. It is the field executing its old command. The line has been approached. The mechanism has engaged, and unless the architecture beneath that ceiling is reorganized, the field will find the means to enforce it every single time, through you if necessary, through external circumstance if not. The third pattern is quieter and more personal. It is the guilt. Some of you know exactly what it feels like to begin doing well financially and then feel something tighten inside you. Not excitement, tension. An almost irrational sense of threat when money begins to increase. You start wondering who you will become, whether people will see you differently, whether you deserve it, whether you took it from somewhere or someone else. The discomfort is real, and most people do not recognize it for what it is, which is a guilt code embedded in the abundance field. This guilt did not come from nowhere. In many lineages, having more than others was dangerous. It created social risk, relational rupture, or genuine threat. In others, wealth was associated with moral corruption, with exploitation, with the kind of person you were taught not to be. So the system learned to protect you by making prosperity feel unsafe. And now, without knowing it, you begin sabotaging progress at the exact moment it starts to consolidate. Not because you want to fail, but because an older protective mechanism reads accumulation as danger. The guilt code is particularly devastating because it is invisible to the person carrying it. It does not announce itself as guilt. It arrives as practical reasoning. Suddenly you notice all the reasons the investment is risky. Suddenly you feel that someone else needs the money more. Suddenly the comfortable choice feels irresponsible, and the depleting choice feels righteous. The field is not producing these thoughts randomly. It is generating them on cue. At the precise moment accumulation reaches the threshold where the guilt code activates, it is the field protecting itself from a future it was told to treat as forbidden. This is the hidden sabotage the Arcturian protocol. Keepers identify most frequently in starseeds who are genuinely trying, genuinely working, and still watching themselves undo their own momentum. You spend what you saved. You exit the opportunity just before it matures. You attract financial chaos at the moments of greatest promise. And then you tell yourself the familiar story about how you always do this. But you are not doing this. The old guilt code is doing this. and it will keep doing it until the field is reorganized at the level where the guilt instruction is actually stored. The fourth pattern involves what the Arcturians call loyalty binding, and it is among the most emotionally complex distortions in the abundance field. This is where unconscious loyalty to the struggle of your ancestral line begins to function as a financial ceiling. If the people who came before you worked their entire lives without achieving stability, part of your field may carry a loyalty to that experience, not because you want to suffer, but because achieving what they could not sometimes feels beneath the level of conscious reasoning, like a betrayal, like you are leaving them behind. Like your comfort erases the validity of their sacrifice. So, you stay close to the struggle. You maintain proximity to the financial experience of the line. Not out of weakness, but out of love that has not yet been given permission to manifest as release. Loyalty binding is subtle enough that it can masquerade as humility, as groundedness, as practicality. It can sound like, I do not want to become someone who forgets where they came from. It can feel like an instinctive resistance to distance, to difference, to the particular kind of separateness that material stability sometimes creates between people who grew up in the same conditions. The field translates this love into a ceiling. It reads the loyalty as instruction, and so it keeps you in the range of the familiar struggle, not to harm you, but to honor what it believes you are telling it to protect. The protocol keepers want you to hear this clearly. Releasing an inherited scarcity pattern is not a betrayal of those who struggled before you. It is a completion of what they could not finish. The scarcity they lived in was not their truth. It was the condition they were given. When you break that pattern, you are not dishonoring them. You are liberating the line. You are completing the sequence on behalf of everyone who carried it before they had the tools to set it down. The fifth pattern is what happens to abundance in real time, in the material world, when the field distortion is active. You lose things in ways that feel specifically timed. The expense always arrives at the worst moment. The opportunity always has a catch that costs what you do not have. The investment returns less than it should. The payment arrives late. The client disappears. The raise is approved and then frozen. Each of these moments taken separately looks like ordinary life difficulty. Taken together, taken as a pattern measured across months and years, they reveal something more structured. The Arcturian diagnosis for this is material field drainage, a condition in which the energetic architecture around your financial life is actively redirecting wealth away from accumulation and toward depletion, not to punish you, but because the field is still obeying an older command that reads abundance as imbalance. The old instruction says, when too much gathers, disperse it, and so the field finds ways. Every time, material field drainage is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is a slow leak rather than a sudden rupture. A series of small expenses that individually seem manageable but collectively ensure that the total never rises above a certain point. A recurring pattern in which income increases are met almost simultaneously by cost increases, as if the financial environment around you is calibrating itself to maintain the same net position regardless of what you generate. You work more and spend more. You earn more and owe more. The ratio holds. The field is maintaining its instruction, and from inside the drainage pattern, it is nearly impossible to distinguish the mechanism from ordinary circumstance, because the field is using ordinary circumstance as its instrument. The sixth layer of this pattern is the exhaustion. You have been working inside a distorted field for years. You have been putting effort into a system that was designed at its hidden level to return you to a fixed point of barely enough. And the exhaustion is not weakness. It is the correct response to genuinely unsustainable conditions. You were not meant to fight this hard for this little result. The effort you have been pouring into your financial life was never the problem. The problem is that your effort has been entering a field that has been absorbing it and redirecting it without giving you the compound return that effort should generate over time. You kept pouring in. The field kept dispersing, and the gap between your input and your result has been slowly teaching you to doubt your own capacity. That doubt is not truth. It is the scar tissue of a system that was set against your stability before you were old enough to understand what was happening. There is a particular kind of silence that grows around financial exhaustion. It is not the silence of peace. It is the silence of someone who has stopped explaining, stopped asking for help, stopped reaching for the words that might make someone else understand what it feels like to work this hard and remain this precarious. You learn to carry the weight without comment because the comments never produce the change, and eventually the energy required to describe the pattern became another expense you could not afford. That silence is recognizable to the Arcturian protocol keepers. They have mapped it across many lineages, many lifetimes, many material fields, and they are naming it now not to deepen the weight of it, but to confirm that it was always a symptom, never a sentence. This is what the Arcturian protocol keepers need you to receive before this sequence can do its full work in you. The cycle you are in is not evidence of who you are. It is evidence of what is still running. The distinction is everything. Because if the problem is who you are, you cannot change it. But if the problem is a sequence distortion, an inherited field instruction, a guilt-coded rejection of abundance, a loyalty binding, or a material drainage pattern that predates your current choices, then there is a specific sequence that can reach it, reorganize it, and allow the field to begin operating from a different foundational command. What has been leading your life was not taken from you by fate. It was redirected by a system that did not have your current instructions. It was obeying old code, survival code, scarcity code, code that was written under conditions of genuine lack and then passed forward without a dismantling sequence ever being applied. The wealth chakras cannot open in the correct order when that code is still active beneath them. They open individually, partially, temporarily, and then the old instruction closes them again. This is why every attempt you have made to shift your financial reality has produced movement without permanence. You are activating the chakras, but you are not reorganizing the field beneath them. The activation was real. The foundation beneath it was still old. Every meditation you completed, every intention you set, every period of focused belief, none of it was wasted. It was all reaching toward the right destination. But it was approaching from above, working downward through layers of field architecture that had not yet been addressed at their base. You were building on ground that was still coded to give way. The work you did was real. The surface shifted, but the foundational instruction held, and eventually the surface always returned to reflect what the foundation commanded. This is not a failure of your spiritual practice. It is a structural reality the Arcturian protocol keepers have observed consistently. No surface activation can permanently override a foundational field command. The sequence must begin at the base. The sequence the Arcturian protocol keepers are releasing tonight was designed for this exact structural problem. It does not begin with the crown and move downward. It does not begin with the root and move upward. It begins at the precise intersection where the guilt code, the inherited scarcity, and the loyalty binding are most densely layered, and it works outward from there, unlocking the wealth chakras simultaneously rather than sequentially, collapsing the delay between activations, and removing the old command at the foundational level before the abundance channel is reopened. When the field receives the sequence in the correct order, something shifts that goes deeper than motivation, deeper than intention, deeper than conscious belief. The material current begins to behave differently. What was being dispersed begins over time to collect. What was arriving and immediately leaving begins to find moments of pause, of settling, of accumulation. It is not instant. The Arcturian protocol keepers do not promise instant transformation, because that would be a lie delivered in the language of the very systems that have been deceiving you. What they do promise is this: the correct sequence, applied to the correct layer of the distortion, begins a structural reorganization of the field that no surface-level effort alone could create. You are not at the beginning of this story. You are at the threshold of a reorganization that was waiting for this exact sequence to be released. The cycle you have been living in is not your permanent address. It is the final stage of an old pattern, becoming visible enough to be corrected. The Arcturian protocol keepers do not bring patterns to the surface without also releasing the tool designed to address them. You have been surviving inside a disrupted field long enough. The effort was always real. The intention was always real. What was missing was the sequence. And now you have it. Repeat this aloud if it is true for you. I no longer confuse the pattern with my identity. What was inherited can be released. The sequence is already in motion. Before you scroll, leave one sign in the comments that this pattern has already touched your financial life. It could be money that never stays, sudden drains, repeated setbacks, guilt when things begin to improve, or the feeling that stability always slips away. Name it clearly. If this transmission recognizes something you have been carrying in silence, share it with someone who works hard, but still feels trapped in an invisible cycle of lack. And if you are ready to understand the pattern instead of blaming yourself, subscribe to Arcturian Gold Codex. You are not watching this by accident. You are not watching this by accident. You are recognizing a pattern already in motion. And this is only the beginning.